The story of Neverland begins long before Michael Jackson ever stepped foot in the Santa Ynez Valley. In the 1930s, the property was a quiet, unassuming country estate tucked into rolling hills and open meadows in California. It was a place of peace and simplicity, a sanctuary from the outside world. At the time, few could have imagined the extraordinary transformation that would come decades later. The original mansion sat comfortably on the property, surrounded by orchards, streams, and grazing fields. Its modest scale reflected the rural American lifestyle of the era, an understated elegance without grandeur or pretense. It was the kind of home designed for retreat and reflection, a space where the natural landscape defined the character of the estate. The property's location, relatively isolated yet accessible from Los Angeles, would later prove ideal for someone seeking privacy amid fame. In the years before Michael acquired it, the estate passed through several owners, each leaving small imprints. None had altered it dramatically. Its charm lay in the untouched land and the sense of possibility it offered. Rolling hills, dense groves, and clear skies created an environment where imagination could take root. In many ways, the property itself was blank canvas, a stage for dreams waiting to be realized. When Michael Jackson first encountered the estate in the early 1980s, he saw potential that extended far beyond a simple home. He envisioned a world in which fantasy could exist without limitation, a personal kingdom shielded from scrutiny where he could live as he imagined. The Santa Ynez Valley offered seclusion, natural beauty, and the space necessary for his vision to grow. The decision was less about a house and more about creating a world. Neverland's origins are humble, but that simplicity would make its transformation all the more dramatic. What began as a quiet ranch would soon become a playground, a sanctuary, and a fortress, a reflection of the life and mind of one of the most famous people on Earth. Michael Jackson's choice of the Santa Ynez Valley estate was deliberate. He sought a place where he could escape the constant pressures of global fame. Los Angeles offered visibility, proximity to the music industry, but little privacy. Neverland promised both beauty and seclusion. Hills that could obscure boundaries, open land for amusement rides and animals, and a mansion that could be expanded to accommodate a world uniquely his own. The property's size was a key factor. At roughly 2,700 acres, it was enormous by any standard, giving Michael room to design, build, and cultivate without constraint. He could transform it into a sanctuary where visitors would never feel confined, where children could explore freely, and where he could control his environment completely. The seclusion also meant security could be discreet yet effective, a critical consideration for someone constantly under public and media scrutiny. Michael's fascination with childhood innocence and fantasy influenced his vision. Thus, the property's natural features, rolling hills, wooded areas, and open meadows, allowed him to incorporate amusement park rides, a zoo, and sprawling gardens without disrupting the landscape. It was the perfect blank canvas, blending reality with imagination. The mansion itself became the anchor, while the surrounding acreage offered space for whimsy, animals, and play. The estate's accessibility also played a role. While remote, it was within reasonable distance of Los Angeles, allowing Michael to manage professional commitments while retreating from public life. Celebrities, friends, and collaborators could visit, yet they were entering a world carefully controlled by the artist himself. Every decision, from gates to roads, from landscaping to building expansions, reflected the desire to create a private kingdom. Choosing this mansion was about more than real estate. It was about possibility, about shaping an environment that matched Michael's vision of childhood, imagination, and sanctuary. The estate was not just a home, it was a foundation for the extraordinary world he would build, a place where fantasy could exist without compromise. After acquiring the estate, Michael Jackson embarked on a sweeping transformation. Neverland was no longer a quiet ranch. It became a personal kingdom of wonder. The mansion itself was expanded and renovated to accommodate living spaces, guest rooms, and private quarters, while the surrounding land was turned into a private amusement park, zoo, and elaborate gardens. Rides were installed throughout the property, roller coasters, merry-go-rounds, and Ferris wheels that allowed children and visitors to wander through a fantasy landscape. A private train looped around the grounds, weaving through hills, groves, and attractions, connecting the mansion to the periphery of Neverland. The zoo housed exotic animals, from elephants and giraffes to rare birds, requiring an extensive network of enclosures, caretakers, and veterinary care. Michael's commitment to creating a magical world extended to every detail, from themed gardens to whimsical sculptures, fountains, and pathways designed for exploration. The mansion underwent significant renovations. Hidden rooms, play areas, and entertainment spaces were added. Some rooms were purpose-built for security and privacy, while others were designed purely for fun. The layout blurred the line between residence and amusement park, combining living quarters with fantastical elements seamlessly. Architects, engineers, and construction teams worked tirelessly to ensure that every addition maintained both functionality and imagination. Financially, the project was staggering. Maintaining rides, animals, gardens, and the mansion itself required hundreds of staff members, from chefs and housekeepers to zookeepers and ride operators. Every detail, from plumbing to electrical systems, had to be adapted to support the enormous scale of operations. The cost of sustaining Neverland was astronomical, but for Michael, it was an investment in a dream, a world where he could reclaim innocence and shield himself from fame's pressures. Through these transformations, Neverland became a symbol of Michael Jackson's creative ambition. It was not merely a home. It was a reflection of his inner world, an extension of his imagination made real. The estate was a place of beauty, whimsy, and joy, but it also required vigilance, discipline, and immense resources to sustain. Life inside Neverland Mansion was a mixture of routine, fantasy, and careful orchestration. For Michael Jackson, every day was conducted on a unique rhythm, balancing the demands of fame with his desire for privacy and wonder. The mansion itself was a sprawling structure, combining private quarters, entertainment spaces, and hidden rooms for security and solitude. Staff played a critical role in daily operations. Housekeepers, chefs, and maintenance workers ensured that meals, cleaning, and household systems ran smoothly. Engineers and caretakers monitored the amusement park rides, train tracks, and zoo enclosures. Groundskeepers tended to gardens, lawns, and wooded areas, preserving the carefully cultivated landscapes. The estate functioned like a miniature city, with hundreds of employees coordinating their work to maintain the illusion of effortless perfection. Michael's personal routine was meticulous. He devoted hours to music, rehearsals, and creative projects, often in private recording or dance studios. Yet he also spent significant time overseeing the estate itself, visiting the zoo, inspecting rides, and ensuring that the gardens and pathways reflected his vision. Children were frequently invited to explore Neverland, enjoying rides, games, and performances. The estate offered moments of normalcy and joy, but always within boundaries controlled by Michael. Security was ever present. Gates, fences, cameras, and private guards ensured that intrusion or unwanted attention was minimized. Some rooms were intentionally hidden or reinforced, offering Michael solitude when needed. Despite the openness of the fantasy world outside, the mansion provided private retreats, quiet spaces, and controlled environments, a delicate balance between public spectacle and personal refuge. For all its joy, life at Neverland carried hidden pressures. Maintaining the estate, managing staff, and attending to animals, rides, and gardens was a full-time responsibility. Every element, from electricity to plumbing, from animal feed to amusement rides, demanded attention. Behind the laughter and magic lay the enormous effort required to sustain a world of fantasy. Neverland was both a sanctuary and a machine, simultaneously offering freedom and imposing responsibility. For Michael, it was a place to live, play, and create, but it was also a constant reminder of the demands of his vision. Behind the magic and wonder of Neverland, a darker story quietly unfolded. For all its rides, animals, and fantastical landscapes, the mansion could not shield Michael Jackson from the relentless pressures of fame, nor from the scrutiny that would eventually consume him. By the 1990s, Michael's life was under constant observation. Paparazzi lined the gates, reporters dissected every move, and tabloids thrived on rumor and controversy. For a man who had built an entire kingdom to escape the world, the outside pressures were inescapable. The mansion, once a refuge, became a stage where freedom and isolation collided with fear and suspicion. Daily life at Neverland carried its own burdens. Managing the estate was a monumental task. The amusement park rides required constant maintenance, the zoo needed round-the-clock care, and the mansion itself demanded meticulous attention. Hundreds of employees worked silently behind the scenes, caretakers, engineers, gardeners, chefs, and security, all ensuring the fantasy never faltered. Every light switch, every animal, every hallway was a reminder of the cost of sustaining the dream. But the emotional and financial pressures were only part of the story. Allegations and rumors began to shadow the property. Investigations, police raids, and legal scrutiny transformed Neverland from a private sanctuary into a place of public fascination and moral questioning. What had been a world of innocence and play was now a backdrop to controversy, and Michael, despite his efforts to protect it, could not separate his home from the headlines. Yet, amidst the scrutiny, Michael remained devoted to the vision he had built. He continued hosting children, friends, and guests, seeking joy in moments of magic while bearing the weight of mounting tension. Neverland was a world designed to heal a childhood, but it became a symbol of both genius and tragedy. For Michael Jackson, the mansion was at once a haven and a prison, a place where dreams were lived and nightmares quietly loomed. The walls of Neverland held laughter, but they also absorbed the growing shadow of fear, uncertainty, and public judgment. By the early 2000s, Neverland was no longer the private kingdom Michael Jackson had envisioned. The pressures of fame, the weight of allegations, and mounting legal battles began to unravel the sanctuary he had spent years creating. What was once a magical refuge had become a symbol of conflict, controversy, and loss. Financial strain played a significant role. Maintaining the sprawling 2,700-acre estate was enormously expensive. Staff wages, animal care, ride maintenance, and the upkeep of the mansion and gardens added up to millions annually. With mounting legal costs and declining revenues from album sales and tours, sustaining Neverland became increasingly difficult. The dream, as lavish and enchanting as it was, carried a cost that even Michael's fortune struggled to cover. Legal troubles and public scrutiny further altered life at the estate. Police investigations and high-profile allegations transformed the home from a private retreat into a stage of global fascination. The gates of Neverland, once welcoming to friends and children seeking joy, became barriers, symbols of a life under siege. Security tightened, private rooms were reinforced, and some areas of the property were closed off entirely. The mansion's open, playful atmosphere gave way to tension and caution. In 2005, after Michael's trial, the emotional weight of Neverland had shifted irreversibly. He no longer lived there full-time, and the estate began its slow decline. Rides fell silent, animals were relocated, and the once thriving zoo and amusement park were shuttered. The fantasy world that had been a lifeline for Michael now stood as a reminder of what had been lost. Both innocence and security. By the end of the decade, Neverland had become a ghost of its former self. Vacant, overgrown, and quiet, the mansion reflected a dream that had both soared and crumbled. What had begun as a sanctuary for joy and creativity became a monument to fame's burdens, a private world that could not withstand the relentless pressures of the outside world. Neverland's story, like Michael's life, was one of brilliance shadowed by darkness, a testament to both imagination and vulnerability. After Michael Jackson left Neverland, the estate's story entered a new and uncertain chapter. The mansion, once alive with laughter, rides, and the calls of exotic animals, became a silent echo of its former self. The sprawling 2,700-acre property, so carefully curated for magic and fantasy, began to show the toll of time, neglect, and controversy. The first major change came in 2008, when financial troubles forced Michael to place Neverland into a trust to settle debts. Ownership shifted, and with it, the vision of a private sanctuary ended. The amusement rides were removed or sold, exotic animals were relocated to zoos and sanctuaries, and the once bustling zoo and train system fell silent. The carefully manicured gardens grew wild, fountains no longer sparkled, and hallways that had been meticulously polished now bore the dust of abandonment. In 2010, the property was officially listed for sale. Prospective buyers were attracted to the land's beauty and history, but few could imagine reclaiming the spirit Michael had created. The estate's association with scandal, allegations, and media frenzy complicated any attempt to preserve its former glory. Many viewed Neverland as more than a mansion. It was a symbol of fame's extremes, a cautionary tale as much as a historic estate. Despite these challenges, some aspects of the property remained remarkable. The main house, with its hidden rooms, intricate design, and sprawling grounds, still showcased Michael's vision of a private kingdom. The surrounding hills, open meadows, and woodlands retained the natural beauty that had originally drawn him to the Santa Ynez Valley. But the essence of Neverland, its magic, its life, its joy, could not be replicated without the man who had imagined it. In the years after Michael's death in 2009, Neverland changed hands several times, with each new owner facing the dual task of preservation and reinvention. Attempts to repurpose the property were met with the challenge of balancing its storied past with modern demands. Neverland, once a refuge from the world, became a monument to history, memory, and the impossibility of recreating a dream fully. The mansion's aftermath is a testament to both imagination and impermanence, a reminder that even the grandest dreams can fade, leaving behind echoes of wonder, shadow, and nostalgia. Neverland Mansion remains one of the most iconic estates in modern history, not just for its size or extravagance, but for the unique vision it represented. Michael Jackson didn't build a typical home. He created a sanctuary, a playground, and a refuge from the pressures of global fame. Its legacy is a mixture of wonder, controversy, and cultural fascination. Even in its decline, Neverland left an indelible mark on pop culture. The image of a private amusement park sprawling across a Santa Ynez Valley ranch captured the imagination of millions. The estate symbolized Michael's desire to reclaim innocence, to live in a world untouched by judgment and the scrutiny. In the decades following his death, Neverland became a symbol of both the heights of creativity and the isolation fame can bring. The estate also shaped how celebrity homes are perceived. It demonstrated that a private property could be more than a residence. It could be a personal universe, a reflection of identity, dreams, and even trauma. Artists, fans, and media alike have looked to Neverland as a case study of how wealth, imagination, and fame intertwine, creating something simultaneously awe-inspiring and fragile. Yet the legacy is not purely celebratory. Neverland is inextricably linked with the controversies and allegations that surrounded Michael. These shadows complicate the narrative, reminding us that grand visions exist alongside human struggles. The mansion embodies the duality of Michael's life, extraordinary creativity paired with profound vulnerability. Architecturally, Neverland remains a remarkable achievement. Hidden rooms, private gardens, and sprawling grounds continue to impress historians, real estate enthusiasts, and curious fans. Its story lives on in photographs, documentaries, and the memories of those who visited or worked there. Ultimately, Neverland's legacy is complex and enduring. It is a world of imagination, a monument to one man's dreams, and a reminder of how brilliance and burden can coexist in a single place. The mansion will always be remembered, not just for its rides, animals, or luxury, but for the story of the man who dared to build a kingdom where fantasy could live. Neverland Mansion stands today as a monument to dreams and contradictions. Its story is not simply about a sprawling estate or a billionaire's whim. It is a story of imagination, isolation, brilliance, and tragedy intertwined. From its origins as a quiet country estate in the 1930s to Michael Jackson's transformation of it into a personal kingdom, the mansion embodies both the heights of human creativity and the shadows that come with fame. Walking the grounds, one can almost hear the echoes of laughter from carousel rides, the gentle calls of exotic animals, or the quiet footsteps of a young boy turned global superstar seeking refuge. Michael built a world where fantasy could exist unchallenged, a place to reclaim lost innocence, to surround himself with beauty, and to live according to his own rules. Yet for all its wonder, Neverland was also a fortress of solitude, a space that reflected his fears and the relentless pressures of public life. The estate's story is a cautionary tale about the cost of dreams, the maintenance of 2,700 acres, the care of exotic animals, amusement rides, and the mansion itself required a scale of resources few could imagine. The magical facade hid endless logistical challenges, emotional strain, and a vulnerability that fame could not shield. Every corridor, every garden, every secret room held both joy and the quiet weight of responsibility. Even after Michael's departure and death, Neverland's legacy endures. It has been bought, sold, repurposed, and studied, a property whose history is inseparable from the man who defined it. The estate continues to captivate fans, historians, and the public, not merely for its luxury, but for its story. The story of a man who dared to turn his home into a kingdom, a dream into reality, and imagination into architecture. Neverland is more than a mansion. It is a symbol of the duality of life, the interplay between creativity and isolation, joy and struggle, fantasy and reality. Michael Jackson.